Many people have asked me to do a short video on how to choose a tent. The tent behind me is called a teepee. The design's 10,000 years old. Tons of ventilation, waterproof. You can have a fire right inside it. It's spacious, roomy. You can sleep about 6 in it to 10, depending on what you have in the center as far as your fire pit and things. But impractical, okay, for what we do now. In choosing a tent, you have to ask yourself a question. Many questions, actually. First off, what season are you going to be camping in? Second, where are you going to be camping? Are you going to do backwoods? Are you going to do car camping? Are you going to be doing perhaps maybe provincial park camping, maybe canoeing to a certain area with no portaging? You have to ask yourself, how many people are going to be sleeping in the tent with you? I'm going to show you some tents that I've set up here at home, just so you can see what the different sort of functionalities are within the tents. If you recognize this style of tent, it's called a pup tent. If you recognize this style of tent, then you're probably as old as I am. This tent here is, it was cheap, it was portable. We thought it was fantastic in the day. Could never figure out why we woke up every morning soaking wet. We were kids, whatever. The point being is, this is what we used to take camping on long canoe trips. We thought it was fantastic. It's not fantastic. If you have one of these, keep it at home. Don't take it canoeing, okay? Just don't. It's not worth it. Go out and spend some good money on a good tent. But it's hot. There's no ventilation in it. This window in the back, the door in the back window, it doesn't cut it. It's not good enough, okay? There's no fly. There's no fly, so that means if it rains out, you're getting wet for sure. I've been in many downpours in this thing when I was a kid, and I'm telling you, man, you get soaked in these things, right? So, look, these were even before shock cords were invented, right? Like, this is how the poles used to come. Still, lightweight, beautiful, right, for that. But for portaging, canoeing, backwoods camping, don't take this. So let's take a look at some of the newer models, right? So remember, this thing's like circa 1970, all right? Okay, let's move up a few years from the 70s and the 80s. This is the new Type Pup Tent. These tents are lightweight. They weigh virtually like they're 2 pounds, 3 pounds. If you're going to go portaging is just like hiking, okay? It's no different. The only difference is you're carrying a canoe on your back too, so factor that in. Remember, weight is the key. You got to keep your weight down. Like whatever you're putting in your pack, keep it down. This tent here, this one here is made by Eureka. It's called a Mary Pass 2. Many different manufacturers of tents make the same idea, right? I just happen to own this one. But with the tent, when you purchase a tent, right, when you go into sale, or any of these LeBaron, any of these other outdoor stores, Bass Pro Shops, whatever, they'll have a myriad of tents on the floor, and you'll go in there and go, what the heck? It'll confuse the hell out of you. Remember this. Always remember, one, what are you doing with the tent? If you're car camping, buy whatever you want. You're good to go. You can buy an 8-person tent for 2 people. Who cares? You're carrying it by car. It's all good, right? But if you're doing hiking, cycling, backpacking, or canoeing, canoe tripping, weight is the key. So, and size. This little area here, believe it or not, it's not that big. It's only about 5 feet wide, this little camp area I have at home. It's only about 5 feet wide. And I can fit this tent in beautifully. It's not a problem. Buy a tent with a full fly. The fly has to go to almost to the ground, okay? Don't buy a tent that has a partial fly. They're no good. You will get wet. The beautiful thing about this particular tent is it has a vestibule. This area in here, I'll open all this up so you can see, but this area in here, it's all vestibule until I get to the tent area. So let me open this up and show you what's going on. Now I'm sitting technically in the vestibule. Here's the tent wall here. This is the actual guts of the tent. This is all mesh. The entire tent is mesh inside. I will show you that in a moment. The vestibule. Why is a vestibule important? When you're camping and let's say it's raining, okay? It's a beautiful day right now, but let's say it's raining. You don't want to climb in there with a wet coat, wet shoes. You want to put them out here in the vestibule, okay? So you can sit inside. You can sit inside the tent. You can sit inside the tent like this. Kick your shoes off. Rain's pouring down. Kick your shoes off. Take your jacket off. Put it there. Keeps the inside of the tent nice and dry. Try to get a tent with a vestibule. Okay. Some tents come with two. Some come with none. It depends. So try to get one with a vestibule. You will enjoy it immensely. I promise. You can store a pack in here. I store all my extraneous gear underneath this vestibule. My son and I have used this particular tent we've done about 400 kilometers through Algonquin Park using this tent, and it sets up in a breeze. Most modern tents set up very quickly. So what are you looking for? Full fly. All right, make sure that the tent body itself, this is called the fly, it goes on separate. Tent body itself is mostly mesh. All right, make sure it's mostly mesh. Make sure there's breathability. In other words, there's ventilation all the way through, hence the mesh on the inside of the tent. Secondly, make sure that you can get in and out of the tent easy. Some of these tents come with two doors. The two-person tent generally doesn't, but for the most part, if you go into a three-person tent or a four-person tent, they sometimes will have a dual door, so you can go out either which way, which is really kind of cool, depending on what you're doing. Okay, you'll notice with this tent here, this tent has a full screen mesh all the way around the interior. Okay, so it's right up to the ceiling. All right, it's all mesh. Breathability is not an issue in this tent. Back here, you'll see right there, that's a vent. That's so vapor gets sucked in through the front of the tent and out through that back vent. It's a great design for that. This one here never condensates. I've been in it in cold weather, warm weather, it doesn't matter. It's dry, it's a beautiful little tent. One cool thing about this tent is, look, you can pick the whole thing up, right? You move it wherever you want. If all of a sudden you put it down, you put up the shell, you put it down on the ground, and you find there's a root that you didn't notice, move it, if you can. Another really cool idea when you're taking your tent down, so when you go to take the tent down, open up the mesh all the way. That's another neat thing about this tent. Look how wide that mesh opens up, right? That's a good thing. You can get your packs in there, whatever you need, right? Your bed rolls. So undo the mesh, right? And simply lift the tent up like this and shake it out before wrapping it up. It gets all the crap out of the bottom, right? Be it pine needles, whatever it might be. So what you want to do is make sure that there's nothing in that tent that's going to poke through your mesh, whatever. Clean it out every time you pack it away. Another thing too is you can buy what's called a footprint for these tents. A footprint is simply exactly what it says. It's a piece of nylon, which is the size of the bottom of your tent. You put that on the ground first, stake it out, put the tent on top, and it stops the tent. It helps you to stop the tent from being poked through at the bottom, right? You don't want holes in your tent. You just don't. Bugs will find a way in anywhere. They just do. That's what they do. They come for you. To take this tent down, it's super easy. And most tents are like this now. So make sure it's cleaned out. Do up your door, and just simply undo the clips on the sides. Shake your tent out. And that's it. Stuff your tent, so stuff the body of the tent into one stuff sack, stuff the fly into the other stuff sack. The reason being is that the fly is generally always wet. You can't get away from it. Especially if you're portaging, you're going to be jumping lakes. So what'll happen is you'll be taking your tent down first thing in the morning so you can get back on the water. In the morning, that's when the dew is, eh? So you want to make sure that your fly is separate from the body of your tent. It just keeps your tent drier, right? And this it literally stuffs into a bag, and it weighs, like I said earlier, it weighs about, this particular unit weighs about 2 pounds to 3 pounds tops. That's with poles, everything. So if you're going to go for a lightweight tent, if you're looking at, first off, let's look at the time of season, okay? This one is a 3-season tent. This one's good for spring, summer, and fall. Yes, I've set it up in the wintertime, but heavy snows, these poles are too thin. So the poles could be, you get a heavy snow, a wet snow load on this, the poles will probably collapse on you. Not a good thing. Thanks for watching. In the next video, I check out a 4-person tent. The advantages of it, disadvantages if any, and also check out an old school campmate canopy style tent. I believe it was made in the 1970s. Yeah, long time ago. Anyway, happy camping.